Welcome to the School of the Giant podcast, and I am your host, Pt1 Bailey. Today on the School of the Giant podcast, we're going to speak education and we will be speaking leadership. Now, to my right here, I've got my good friend, John. He's into careers in education. He has introduced himself already on the School of the Giant podcast. And over to my far left, I've got Mr. Garth. He has introduced himself already on the podcast, but I'm still going to ask him to introduce himself again. But today, our main guest on the School of the Giant is Bronwyn here with us from South Africa. So she is going to be our main guest today. We are going to have a panel discussion regarding or about education and the systems surrounding education. But before we start, can we just again, please, give John to introduce himself again to the School of the Giant. Please, John.
Thank you, Hopton. And once more, thank you for inviting me to the School of the Giants. Yeah, it's always a pleasure to be here. Though it's my second visit, I'm starting to feel comfortable. My name is John Singh. I'm the careers advisor at one of the international schools out here in Doha, Qatar.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. And over to my far left, Garth.
Thank you again for having me. It's always a pleasure being here. My name is Garth Whitehead. I'm a mathematics teacher at one of the international schools here in Qatar.
Thank you so much. Now, thank you. Our main guest today is actually Bronwyn here. She's from South Africa. So she's got a vast experience in education. She's actually a trained journalist as well. So I'm just going to allow her to introduce herself. So welcome to the School of the Giant. Yes,
Thank you.
Can you please
Thank you for
introduce
having me,
yourself?
Hopton.
Yes.
I am Bronwyn Jacobs. I am originally from South Africa, as you've said, and I am an early years education teacher. At the moment, I'm an academic coordinator at a school here in Qatar, and I am enjoying being back in Qatar and on your show. Thank you very much.
Fantastic. Yes, you're welcome. So normally, these two gentlemen, they've done this already. I've asked them to give 10 words to describe themselves. So because they've done it already, I'm just going to ask a Bronwyn here. This time, because she's a lady, I don't know why, but I'm just going to ask her to give 5 words that she would use to describe herself. So can you give us 5 words that you would use to describe yourself?
Okay. I would describe myself as energetic, passionate, an early morning person, creative, and forward-thinking. Those would be my 5 descriptives for today. It could change next week.
Fantastic.
Today?
Fantastic, thank you. Now, I think I'm an energetic person. So I want to see maybe there's a difference between me in terms of energetic and Braun in terms of, sorry if I'm putting you on the spot.
No, it's fine.
You're the main guest today. So tell us about your level of energetics, and also where do you get your energies from? What kind of foods you're eating maybe to boost your energy?
I do err on the side of vegetarian. That I'm going to say.
Yes.
So it could be that. I will also describe myself as a little bit of a herbalist. So I move with my herbs, being my ginger and my cloves in my tea. I think my passion and my energy comes from my desire to want to add value.
Add values.
I'm also passionate about what I do. I love waking up in the morning. I enjoy the children I teach. I also think that when you work with children, you can't be a Debbie Downer. You've got to want to be in a room, because we are preparing young minds for a future that we will not be a part of.
Fantastic.
So, energy deluxe.
Wow.
I promise you.
Well, fantastic. So today on this, thank you so much. Yes, today on the School of the Giant podcast, okay, We want to speak education, and also we are speaking leadership. Now we are thinking about how is it that we can possibly develop this conversation that will help our students to make the best of their possible future. How can we generate the conversation? But there's questions on question to be asked, like, is our traditional education system, is it good enough to prepare our students for the current work world? So our current education system, is it good enough? Is it relevant? Is it current enough to prepare our students for the current work world? And that's going to form part of the basis of our discussion today. So I'm going to come to John here, who is a careers person. John has got a close relationship with university, so he knows about the transition for students from secondary school to university, and also he knows about the transition from university to the world of work. So I'm coming to you, John. Is our current education system, is it in line with what the current world of work is looking for?
I think that's a good question,
Yes.
but very arguable, because you'd have different schools of thought about what creates or what causes readiness. So based on the type of curricula that are out there, and of course the types of schools that are out there, and the offerings that they have, we would assume that everybody is doing their job, because people these days are paying for an education. Parents are paying for an education.
For sure.
So they want to be sure that they are sending their children to the right schools, to get the right education, to get them in the right university, and one day having the right job or following the right career. However, with the invasion of technology in the form of AI and other latest developments, questions are now being asked.
Yes.
So what should my child have learned in order for them to be ready for what is out there? And schools have been progressive. They've introduced interventions that equip students and get them ready for university and get them ready for the world of work. I don't think that students will always be accurately prepared, but the education system is doing its best. Could do with a holdover.
Yes.
From radicals.
Yes.
who want to see the change. But we know for a fact that we're living in the real world here, and change won't come overnight. I think we can discuss the changes in another podcast, as to what those changes could be.
Sure.
But I think currently they're doing their best. Whether they are ready enough would be a question to ask the output. At the end of the day, what type of graduates are exiting the system, and are they getting jobs at the end of the day?
Fantastic. Thank you so much. So I'm going to pose the question again to Bron here. So the traditional academic subjects, are they still relevant? In an era of rapid technological change, should schools continue focusing on subjects like math, literature, and history, or should they emphasize on skills like coding, financial literacy, and also emotional intelligence? Should these soft skills be more at the forefront of what students are doing now, or should they still continue to focus on maths, English, and literature? Yes.
For me, my personal answer, and my answer as a professional, it's going to be a little bit long, gentlemen, so brace yourselves for this answer. Okay, so as the herbalist, I'm going to say, and as a person in early years education, I'm honestly going to say, to you as parents listening, that much begins in the home. So with regards to, are these subjects still relevant? Yes, they are, but it's in how we deliver these subjects. So I think I agree with John that education needs an overhaul. The overhaul, I feel, comes from how teachers are prepared to deliver to very evolved generations coming forward. We are the educators of present day students. However, we will not be around to see the full outcome in time to come.
For sure.
So as educators, we need to also keep abreast with how we deliver these lessons. I really feel that the overhaul will come from, and John, I do agree with the overhaul, but I do think that it is in how we recruit who to teach in these schools with these set programs that we have, being your math, being your science, being your biology, your physical education. In order to get a rounded scholar leaving institutions and entering the world, I think a conversation we had before this, John alluded to his own child, his grandchild being in a Montessori school, and I couldn't agree more. As a teacher that comes from IB, the British EYFS, and using best practice in schools, I think reinventing ourselves as educators and working alongside careers, mathematicians like yourselves,
Sure.
and investing in the early years, which is where I'm from. That's my passion. I've worked in a university. I've seen the outcome of students that arrive in a university and write an essay that clearly would not work in the media industry. And I will give you an example,
For sure.
if I
Thank
may.
you.
Whilst being a lecturer at Rhodes University in South Africa, I had the opportunity of marking an essay, and it broke my heart to see that a student was writing in a changed South Africa, in a democratic South Africa. A scholar was writing for the former South Africa. And my question was, how did this student arrive at this level of study? Why was she not corrected before she reaches third year level, preparing to graduate in her fourth year? And as a South African, as a person of color, reading an essay written by a student that was serving an audience that no longer would be delivered to, it was not going to happen on my watch. But my pain
Yes.
propelled me to relook what it is that we as educators are doing, and that is how I ended up in early years. Because you cannot correct students when they reach high school, when they reach third and fourth year. You need to go to the source, and that is why I am in early years education. So we as educators, we need to reinvent ourselves. We as career guidance counselors, we need to, thanks to you, invite different candidates to invest, collaborate with in these different areas of how it is we are preparing our students.
Thank you so much.
Right.
So you've spoken well, but emotional intelligence. Based on what you've said, I know
Yeah.
you're saying that maths and English is of adequate,
It's
vital
vital.
importance. But how important is emotional intelligence to our students that we are training each
Can
day?
I answer?
Yes, for sure. I'm coming to
Yes.
God in a minute. Yes.
This is where the energy comes up bursting. I'm going to say this,
Yeah.
and gentlemen, I want to think you're going to agree with me. Emotional and social intelligence in my classrooms
Yes.
take precedence over academics.
Yes. I agree.
Sure.
Can I say why?
I agree.
Yes.
Because we have these services where students, scholars, people, anyone has access to technology. And
Yes.
people, knowledge is now abundant, it's available, but we, the educators, need to teach students how to emotionally deal with the abundance of information they're receiving. So for me, in my classroom, I put a lot of focus on wellness, emotional and social intelligence. And I have more answers if I'm allowed to tell you how I go about it. What is
We are
the
happy to hear
methodology?
from you. So please speak.
Okay, so my methodology for
Yes.
one is you will even see on my ears when I said that I prepare children for a room. The concept of the circle, round things. As South Africans, you include round. The shape round is the one shape the eye and the human brain does not forget. The wheel, and there's more depth to round. So round as a shape has the foremost focus in my room, and even as a teacher and as a person when I dress to present myself to the children. When I'm teaching them, and this is where you mathematicians come in now,
Sure.
when you divide something, the circle is the best shape to teach in early years, division.
Yes.
Because as we South Africans and as Jamaicans, I'm pretty sure as people of the world who practice principles of Ubuntu, when something is round, it can be cut into a million pieces,
Yes.
and everybody's going to get. Mathematicians, no, I'm just going to work on the quarters
Yes, the
because we
keyword,
yes,
portion.
we just need portions. Okay,
Yes.
so I see the men are getting excited. I see the men. So I'm talking your language. This is where you have the what is it you were speaking about, John? You said the cross pollination or what is the correct term? Integration.
Integration.
We speak
Math-
about integrated education.
Integrated education is what
Sure.
you're speaking of. This is where it comes into play. So in a room, you will then, for me, I use a carpet. So they arrive, wellness, they've got to sit, posture, sit in a circle, and then it is we go in where every child gets a turn, portions. Every child gets a turn. In turn taking, in the early years, I'm doing what you do on a different scale. So I'm using algebra. I'm using the concept of a circle, and I'm dividing time and each one. So he's going to get a turn when he finishes speaks. So I teach turn taking. The circle teaches peace. So there's my emotional, my social. On my wall, I have emotional faces to reach a child who cannot speak. So he comes to school, and as the teacher, I see he's not looking well. So I ask, how are you feeling? Each one has a turn. For the one child or two children that cannot speak, they will show me some kind of emotion. Oh, you're not feeling well? Yes. Body language.
Fantastic.
In that body language, the child has acknowledged he's not feeling
Yes.
well. Then he cannot tell me he doesn't have the words, because we now must give the words. So I use my picture. Show teacher which one you're feeling. Points to the angry. The next one will point to unhappy. The next one will point to sleepy. So these are the different methods that we in early years are doing and using for you gentlemen to then work with
Yes.
when they arrive in your school and in
At
your
secondary
classes
level.
at secondary level.
Thank you so much, Bron. So you're saying that emotional intelligence
Vital.
is very, very vital for the development of students.
Especially in today's life with the excessive amounts of technology,
But
as you say.
traditional education is more about mathematics and
Yeah.
English. So you're a mathematics teacher. So is mathematics,
Yes.
the learning, the studying of mathematics, is that still vital in our educational world today?
Yes, I've listened, yes, and
Yes.
heard a lot, you know. And one of the key things that come across my mind is we're living in the 21st century. So technology is very important. It's very, very important. So mathematics is indeed very important.
Can you tell us, like mathematics, like give us some examples of areas where mathematics are important in what different areas of the work world,
Well,
Yes.
mathematics is our everyday life.
Yes.
That's key. Everything we do is mathematics. Everything we do is calculated. We wake up in the morning, we have to look at the what? The time.
Yes.
Yes?
This is
If we
mathematics.
walk from here to the kitchen, how many steps do we take? Yes, if we're cooking, if we put too much salt in the pot,
Yes.
it is going to be salty. Yes, so it is important that this is our everyday life, and we have to keep these things in mind. And one of the things I heard Brandon say is about emotion. As a teacher, I strongly agree with that. As teacher, yes, as teacher, we have to build that relationship with students. We have to build that relationship with students, that there is that understanding of us and the students. As teacher, we have to be able to see and know that, listen, this student is not having a good day. Yes?
Sure.
Because in any given class, in a given maths class I have, if a student is not having a bad day, I have to be careful how I approach that student in the class. Because the student might be disrespectful. Is not the student way of approaching me. So I have to be able to listen, let me step back a little bit. Take the student outside, have a chat. What is happening?
Sure.
So emotion is important. And growing up, we went to school as well, and we were in class, so we have to understand what these students are going through. Yes?
Absolutely. Right. Thank you so much. We're gonna come to John to wrap up this first question. So mathematics, yes,
Yeah.
and traditional subjects, yes. You are a careers person. You are very close to this.
Yeah.
Tell us your final words. What you think about these traditional subjects?
You want to speak about mathematics specifically or academic subjects overall?
Academic subjects overall, yes.
Yeah.
Please.
Look, I think it's got to be a fair balance.
Yeah.
You take, for example, a student who wants to become a medical doctor. Okay, there's no university on this planet that will take you without the sciences.
Yes,
So the first thing they want to look at your certificate or your report card, have you done mathematics? Have you done biology and any other science, either physics or chemistry,
Sure.
which all involves mathematics
exactly.
at the end of the day.
Yes.
So the universities have an acceptance criteria. They have T's and C's which they adhere to, and they do not compromise at the end of the day, because they want to know that they have
You've
students,
mastered
they have
the
candidates
discipline.
who have mastered
The discipline.
and they are
Who can
able
cope, and who
to
can cope.
fulfill the obligations and requirements of the course that they are signing up. So the mere fact that you need a particular grade also to be accepted into a specialist course at university. So now it's all taken for granted that you've been through, from what Bronwyn has spoken about, from the early years all the way through to primary, all the way through to secondary. It's taken that you have got the foundation,
For sure.
and mathematics plays a critical role in that. But can I just for a second go back to something that Bronwyn mentioned about emotional intelligence
For sure.
and God coming in with mathematics? You know, one of the things you mentioned, aspects you mentioned, there was financial literacy as an example.
Yes.
Okay, so who teaches financial literacy? You know, back in the day, my parents had to go to a specialist to have a tax form filled in, because no one in school taught them about how to manage their finances. But we expect people today to live successful lives. They don't know how to manage their money. So
Sure.
when I alluded to earlier on about the overhauling of the system, what are we actually teaching in schools today through subjects that prepare students for life?
I think, John, well done, because I think that is coming to my question number 2. It's very, very closely linked to my question number 2. So I'm going to just throw this question out, and then anyone can just jump on it, okay? So my question number 2 is, what role should employers play in education? How can business collaborate with schools to ensure students gain practical, real-world experience before they graduate. So I go again. What role should employers play in education?
Well, I like that question. There has to be a relationship between the employer and the schools, because back home in Jamaica we did work experience. I remember when I was in here grade 11, I went to a police station to do my work experience, which was very nice. So I get to see how the regular day-to-day life happen, what they do. So it's a relationship between the school and also the work world,
The work
because teachers are preparing students for the work world. So we should have some experience that we can say, listen, we did this. And
So rather than just teaching the students, they should go out. And
yes,
have
that,
practical
yeah, and that is very important
Sure.
because I did for 2 weeks, and I've learned so much in 2 weeks that I can still remember what I've learned in
Yes.
2 weeks, and that was years ago.
But can I ask you a question? But how early you think students should actually, like students at secondary school, how early should they actually, you think, your opinion, should they actually go out to have this experience in the world of work?
Year 11 is key.
What age is that?
I think
16?
yeah, 15, 14, between 14 and 16.
So
that
you're
is key.
thinking that they should start at year 11, or should they start at year 9, year 10?
No,
or-
year 11 is key.
Year 11.
So 7 to 10 is all about education. But
Okay.
year 11, because you're looking at going to university, when will you have time to go to do work experience? So year 11 is key. So at least a week or 2 weeks out in the working world, just to see what it is like. And one of the things that my school did, and it's a Jamaican thing, we went to different places. So I was working at a police station.
Okay.
My friend was working at a company. He was working at courts, another company. And my friend was working at a phone company. So we were working at all different companies. So it's not like work experience and everyone is going to one place. It's not like that. And we have all different experience. And the experience come from based on what you're doing, because I did business.
Sure.
I did business, so it's based on what you're doing in school. And that is very important, and it's very important just to get a feel of it. So I had some expectation when I was going out into the working world, even though it wasn't for long. You know, I have somewhat of expectation, and that is very important. So year 11 is key.
Is it mandatory in Jamaica for that to take place?
Is it?
Or is it optional?
No, it is mandatory.
Mandatory.
Yeah, so it's not an option thing. So
Yeah.
work experience, you have to do work experience while going to school.
When I was at school, that wasn't
For sure.
mandatory. I must admit, when
Okay.
I was at school, it was mandatory, but my children did have to have that work experience, and I was very grateful for it. I kind of hoped my son would have gone into engineering because he had the opportunity to go onto the site of the Gau train being built. That was the first bullet train in South Africa. His friend's father was one of the engineers that had brought this French company into South Africa. So he had the good fortune of being invited. I was hoping my son would have gone that route. Instead, he went the media route. But I wholeheartedly agree with the Jamaican concept. I'm out of South Africa a long time. I'm not sure if our government schools are, if it's mandatory in our government schools. John, you and I as South Africans, would you know?
Yeah, the thing is, it's arbitrary. It depends on I'm going to go back into the levels of interest that leadership has in what kids should be exposed to. So you'd have those schools that would do it, and you have those schools that just wouldn't do it because of various reasons.
For sure.
Well,
So it just depends on the type of school that you go to, but it's not mandatory.
Okay.
And also, I must add, you have to go. You don't have a choice.
Yes.
So the school will have conversation with these companies and say, this is the situation, this is what we want to do.
And they were
Yes.
they were
And
supportive.
we have to go. And then after, when we go, yes, so this is the thing. When you go, you have a sheet. So you have to get it signed every single day. Yeah, so if you miss your work experience for 3 or 4 days, you're in trouble. You have to go back and do a work experience again. And you have to have your work experience to graduate. So yeah, and but I had fun on my work experience. As like I said, I had fun because it was no school for 2 weeks, but I was working.
Okay.
And I had a brilliant experience.
Thank you so
and I
much.
think-
So let me come to Bron now. Yes. So we are here talking about the role that employers play
Yeah.
in education. But what's your general take on this? Do you think that employers, as a matter of fact, do you think that employers are currently playing enough role in education, or do you think that they need to do more?
Look, we are presently situated, this podcast is taking place from Qatar.
Yes.
And I'm going to say, I know personally that there are companies, because I had...
Sorry, so can I cut you?
Uh-huh.
Yes, because you have worked in China.
China, yeah.
You've worked in South Africa.
And back here in Qatar again.
Yeah.
Okay.
So can you speak South Africa?
South African,
Yes.
I want to say that we need our businesses to be more involved.
Yes.
I'm going to say that because I'm a little bit out of South Africa for quite a few
For quite a
years.
years.
However, speaking as a South African, knowing the challenges we have in our socioeconomically, I know that we do need business to be more involved. We do have businesses that are involved, but I think as a South African and as a global citizen,
Yes.
I'm going to say that it should become part of our human development post-COVID, that businesses should be, by Human Rights Watch, it should be part of their criteria in order for them to stay in business. Part of their budget should be that they must be involved with curriculum development.
For sure.
And maybe John can elaborate, having worked closer with corporations and education itself. I think that they should be involved in curriculum development because they would know what is lacking and what is entering the workforce.
For sure.
And therein lies the opportunity for the collaboration of education and business to become one, particularly with special needs. As a mother of a son with
Special needs.
with special needs, and his special need is Asperger's syndrome. As a mother, as a teacher, as an educator, as a global citizen, I think it is vital, more so, that business have a hand in education ministries. So the education ministry should have yearly meetings, and they should have somebody from business in curriculum development, a permanent link, so that we can be sure that we are evolving as countries, as nations that are preparing citizens to survive once they leave institutions of education.
Fantastic. I'm coming to you again before
Okay.
I go to John here. John is going to speak on the current situation in Qatar because he's a career person here in Qatar. But you've spoken mostly about South Africa, but if you should compare the situation in China, do you think like the current situation when you have been teaching in China, do you think the current education system there in China and the employers, do they think that they work closely together and they do support?
It's an interesting
the
question
growth?
because China
Yes.
is communist with a
Yes.
fast-growing middle class. And what people don't know about China is that the communist system is a choice. So before I went to China, I was of the opinion that I'm going to go to a police state, and I had such an ignorant view that I was shocked to the core when I came to learn that it's a choice. You don't have to be part of the communist system. You can enter the free zone, so to speak, and live outside of the system. You just don't get the benefits when you're a member of the Communist Party. It is a system, and I'm not promoting communism,
Yes.
but I'm going to say this, it works in China, and it is a system that takes care of the people. Being a South African, We have, suppose, we do have a democratic system. What I will say is that China versus Qatar versus South Africa. Qatar takes care of its citizens. Financially, they have the means. South Africa is a developing country. We're 31 or 32 years into our democracy, and we've had many challenges like any growing child. China, the communist system has been running for over 100 years, and I was there when they delivered to their people that have bought into the system. So political systems do have a major role. Companies in China do support schooling, but their government is so supportive of education that the onus does not fall on companies. They do work with their schools, but there's no need, because the political system enables education to be kept at the forefront.
It's working.
It is working, where the people are so invested in the will to want to improve themselves that you have children on the subway sitting with books. Teachers are hailed in China. So the respect for the profession is
So much.
it's so much it's refreshing to be a teacher, even in Qatar. I have to say, Qatar does also applaud their teachers.
Yes.
So South Africa, we need to come on up. As my country, when I was in China, I had the good fortune of being invited to my ambassador's dinner table. And a question was posed to me, why am I teaching in China? And I had to speak the obvious, that
The respect.
the respect afforded in China to the profession is what drew me to want to go and seek my fortune yonder.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. Thank you. Can I just come to John now? So John, you are a careers person here in Qatar.
Yeah.
So tell us, what's your take on the current situation? Do you think that the employers here in Qatar are playing the adequate role in education?
Look, it's a very different dynamic. And I say this because in Qatar, when it comes to employment, because at the end of the day, parents send their students to school to get an education, to go to a high institution of learning, to get a qualification, to look for a job. If you look at how all of us here sitting here arrived in Qatar, was because we were provided with an opportunity to be employed.
For sure.
So companies put requests out there, and then they say, we are advertising, and the jobs become available. What I do want to share on this platform, because I know I'm passionate about careers, is because jobs, at the end of the day, it's about jobs, right? People get educated for one reason and one reason only. They want to have a job one day that they can be happy with.
For sure.
So I want to speak to you and share with you about unemployment rates for a second. This is based on what we've been talking about recently, right?
Yes.
So in Qatar, the unemployment rate is 0.13%.
Wow.
0.13%. In 2021, it was 0.01%.
Wow.
And I know it's pretty extreme,
So
right?
they include us expats in
So-
that figure?
So I'm going to say it's a general
It's a
percentage.
general
Right? I'm not going to go too deep into
No, no,
it.
I think I've answered my own question,
Yeah.
because we as expats cannot be unemployed here.
Exactly.
Once
For
we're
sure.
unemployed,
Perfect.
yeah.
Right.
So I think
but
I've answered.
my point has relevance here, okay? So India, I didn't go to China, which I should have gone to China. While we were chatting, I just went on and
Okay.
technology
Yeah.
is a beautiful thing.
Yes,
Yes,
it
it
is.
is.
And we have
21st
to
century.
use it.
So
Right, so
exactly.
I think we're all
So,
doing just
so
that.
in India, the second
21st
most
century.
populated country in the world, believe it or not, has an unemployment rate of 8.2% currently.
India.
8.2%.
That's India.
Okay? That's India, right?
Okay, fair.
So I go back to my own country, South Africa, and I'm sitting at an unemployment rate of 27.99%.
27.
27.99%. That's how I got into careers in the first place. Because I know that there's a solution to the problem. I don't want to go into the politics of it, but there is a solution, right? And you're quite right. The solutions are in corporates playing a critical role in what happens in schools. I don't know if they get as far as what Bronwyn had mentioned as far as playing a role, being involved in the curriculum,
Yes.
but they have a role to play. And why I'm saying this is, let's talk about progressive corporates within the tech industry. Google, Microsoft. They will take students fresh from high school
Yes.
rather than wait for them to go to a university. And this is real. Okay?
Google.
Yes.
Right? They'll take students straight from high school. What subjects have you done? No, I've done computer science and I've done ICT and I've done math and so forth. Okay, fine. We are going to pay for your education at university once we've employed you because we're going to tell you what to study. Right? When you've studied what we tell you to study and you graduate, you hit the ground running. Because
Plan.
we know exactly what to do.
Prepared for you.
We talk about workplace experience. While at university, you would have spent time.
Yes, they already have 3 years,
You
4
would have
years
spent
work
time at the
experience.
company, learning the ethos
Of the
Of the
company.
company.
of the company. So when I spoke earlier about an overhauling, we'll keep that for another podcast. When
Yes.
I spoke about an overhauling, yes,
But
Yes.
there needs to be a close link with the work world and students in
It-
secondary school.
it has to be, back in the day when I first started on this journey, we used to speak back in South Africa about PPPs, public-private partnerships. And these went haywire because the people who made the decisions didn't have a clear understanding about what is a public-private partnerships, because it's these partnerships that should be creating the job opportunities and the schools that should be creating students that are ready for the world of work. So that by the time that they reach when they're exiting the schooling system, they should know what they want to study at university. While at university, they should know which company they're going to work for. So even there, within the universities, there's a gap that exists where they are not being prepared for the world of work. I can say this without a doubt because we are all graduates here, and you can tell me how your university prepared you for the world of work as far as linking you up. Linking us up with those companies that as a graduate I want to go and work for. There are programs right now for MAT students in certain countries. I know back home it works with the accounting firms. When a student performs well, a big company, I'm going to mention company names right now, but huge companies come in and say, okay, fine, you've got the highest in the country for accounting, right? We will pay for your university education. You'll study to be an auditor or a forensic accountant. We'll pay for university fees, we'll pay you a stipend, we'll pay for your accommodation, we'll pay for your transport to university. They've got a loyal employee for life.
Fantastic. Thank you so much,
You're
John.
most
I'm going to break a little bit.
This is a shout out to the School of Giants. Education, diversity. I think there's just so much to come. So here's to the School of Giants. Keep watching.